So take the chance, guys. Go deep. Be willing to let people into your heart and see what happens. See the impact it has on your parenting. See the impact it has on your marriage. See the impact it has on your desire to be a greater man.
Welcome back to the Man Maker Show. We are dedicated to helping men become stronger and more intentional leaders because the fight in every man's life is real and you were created to overcome. We know that hard times make better men, and through adversity, we find our inner warrior. Thanks for showing up and opening your mind in order to make your future greater than your past. Here's your host, Brad Walgemonthe.
Welcome back to Season 2. Hope you guys are doing incredible. I've missed you. It's been a couple of minutes, not long, between our last release and this one, and some of you needed that time to just catch up, drop 16 bombs on you last quarter, and I hope you got something out of it. Enjoyed the feedback, enjoyed the reviews, some good, some honest, some painful, but that's all right. That's what a man maker's about. You got to be able to take the good with the bad, and I've learned over the years not put too much credence into too much compliment and too much, whatever you want to call it, judgment. It's all good. People have a right to their opinion. I don't have a problem with that. By God, I am for certain that I don't know it all, and I know that I might carry a little bit of toxic optimism, which I've been called before, but I'm okay with that, right? And if you're going to be toxic with something, because almost everybody is, being toxic with optimism would be the top of my choice. So I hope you're doing great. Welcome back to Season 2. I've got a great outline of subjects for you for the next 16, 17, 18 episodes. I hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you're sharing it, liking it, do what you can to spread the word. We're hoping to get more users, more subscribers, so we can get into greater algorithms. Because if you're enjoying the show, you're probably saying to yourself, man, I know so-and-so needs to hear this, or I know so-and-so that could be benefiting this, or oh, man, I hope my kids are watching this. And maybe you're not saying that at all. I don't mean to be arrogant. I'm hearing a lot of, man, I've shared with these guys and shared with those guys, and that blesses me. I'm honored by that. And that's what really brought on the subject for tonight. And tonight's subject may be my favorite subject, and that's the subject of brotherhood. Brotherhood is, it means a lot to me. Let me just put it that way. I'm going to really ask God to give me the strength to get through this message tonight without crying, even though it's okay for men to cry. But this is a very emotional subject to me because the greatest title I have is brother. And that's a deep, deep friendship. I have 2 tattoos on my body, only 2, maybe more someday, but the first one I ever got across my shoulder was a tattoo that said Brotherhood, and one of my very dearest of friends has the exact same tattoo on his shoulder. I'll tell you that story in a minute, but I'm not that big on tattoos. You may be. I think it's great. I think they're cool as heck. I've just never been into that much, but when I went through the season of life of brokenness in my life, a man stood by me. A few men stood by me. And it meant so much to me that he let me enter into his life and shared his family with me and let me stay in their house. And I had another guy let me stay in his camper, and had a few people let me stay in their basements. And, it's kind of embarrassing, right, to have gone from private aircraft and multiple homes and cars and all the fame to needing to sleep in someone's camper because of things that have gone in your life. That's tough. But that's when you find out what a brother is. I had a lot of people that I call brothers that ran and left. And I'm going to talk about 4 bros tonight. I'm not going to talk about them specifically in name, but I'm going to talk about how it goes sometimes, because brotherhood is a great risk. I was sharing with the guy not too long ago my cry for brotherhood, my cry for deep, deep friends with men that believe in God, that believe in family, that believe in good, that believe in grit, that believe in sticking by each other. And if you've been around long enough, you have had someone that you thought was a brother, but ended up not being. And I think you know what I mean. But a brother they're your protector. They've got your back no matter what. And so one of the first things I'm going to talk about as far as a brother is coming to a place where you can accept the fact that you need it. there are some people that are lone wolves, and we've talked about the self-made man, the guy chiseling himself out of stone in last episodes. I'm not really sure that person exists, and if they do exist, they're very lonely. We need brothers. We need each other. There's a great song out right now, and I can't remember the name of it. I think his name is Dax, and it's an African-American guy who sings about the challenges of being a man. And if you've listened to TikTok, you've heard it. And it ain't easy. It's not supposed to be easy. And I don't think the song's about complaining about the fact that it's hard. I think it's drawing attention to the fact that we need each other. Men need men. We need each other. We need brothers. We need people that will stand by each other. We need the people that have the heart understanding of what it means to be the leader of your family, that at the end of the day, the responsibility falls on you. And a brotherhood is when two men come together, or maybe a group of men come together to stand on fundamentals and principles. I've recently been introduced to a group, a brotherhood of men, a large group of men. In fact, it's a massive group around the world, but a small microcosm of it. And I hear them call each other brothers because they understand each other. They've been through things together. They've been through pain. They've been through brokenness. They've been through victory, recovery. They've gotten back up. They've fallen back down, but they understand each other. The reality of a brotherhood is that sometimes it's not going to work out. And this first type of friend I'm going to have is sometimes you have someone you pour your life into. You love them dearly. You think they're going to be a companion for life, but they don't manage themselves. And sometimes they can become an unhealthy friend. And they end up in tragic situations. And my one dear friend ended up in a horrible motorcycle accident. And it impacted him in a way that he's made a choice to no longer be my friend and no longer reach out to me or contact me. And it's not about me, but it still hurts. It still hurts to have someone that you thought you'd be with for life. And then because of events in their life, they choose to cut you out. And maybe it's embarrassment, maybe it's shame, maybe it's mental health, but it happens. And I'll just tell you, if you ever felt shunned or left out or cut out, you're going to be okay. I believe you'll be stronger and more compassionate. The great advantage to experiencing pain like this is that hopefully you'll never do it to somebody else. I think the real crime is when you know better, but you don't do better. When you know that you should be a better brother and you aren't a better brother. We need to be there for each other. That's the bottom line. And I think a relationship needs to be at a point where it's clear that it's not for sale. And I love that concept, not for sale, because it just means you can't be bought. But some friendships, a brotherhood that I had for years and years and years, literally decades, I thought we would do everything together for the rest of our lives. But when I went through my dark days of my life, when I made bad choices, when I cried out for help, he ran for the bank. And by that I mean he chased the money. He realized that the choices that I had made and the impact of my divorce was going to radically impact his economics. And he chose his income over our relationship. That was a very painful thing for me. Maybe one of the more difficult things I've experienced outside of breaking the hearts of my children and obviously the heart of my ex-wife. It's very difficult to go through those things. And I share that with you just simply because it's part of me. And one of the feedbacks I got during the last season was to maybe let a little more of myself out, to get a little more real. I feel like I'm already pretty real, but just for the sake of you having insight to me, and those of you that maybe have known me, that are watching the channel, known me for years and years and years, it hurts to call someone a brother and then have them run away. And if you've built any kind of a relational business, whether that be relational marketing, or you built a company where you called your employees your family, your brothers, or you built business with your family or your brothers and you've had them burn you, steal from you, abandon you, and on your deepest, darkest day of need, they chose money over you, I understand. What it reminded me of was to go deeper. If someone makes that choice, the thing that I have the opportunity to evaluate is maybe I wasn't as good a friend as I needed to be. What part of this pain can I own? What part of this did I potentially bring on? And obviously the choices of my life and some of these situations I've had were part of that choice. But at the same time, I think it's important that you recognize that some people are just going to make wrong choices. And I would hope to God that I never choose money over a friend. And I would hope to God even more so now, because I felt the pain and the sting of that happening. But that happens. And so the part of the point I'm trying to make is that you, in a relationship of a brotherhood, it's not always going to be the best of days. You got to be there for each other when the fit hits the shan. You got to be there. You're the keeper of all great memories. You're the keeper of some of the dark promises of that other brother. And you got to stand with them. That doesn't mean you need to tolerate everything they do. If they're going off the rails and they're making choices that are completely detrimental to your moral compass, well, then you're going to have to make a decision to tell them that you still love them, but you can't associate with them because you just can't be a part of those choices. Some of you are familiar with the term called TDS, or Trump derangement syndrome, I think they call it. And it's basically that no matter what anybody says about Trump, it just puts people into this deranged, disconnected, I can't even believe it, I don't even know what to do with you right now, you're just breaking every rule, I just hate that man, everything about him, and they just literally have lost common sense. Well, some people are going to get what I call FDS. And anybody know what FDS? Yeah, that's female derangement syndrome. And I've had recently a brother that I believe encountered this. And, you know, it's one of those things where, have you ever sat down with someone and tried to have an honest conversation with them, not in judgment, but in love and kindness, to talk to them about some choices they're making, and realize that no matter what you say, you are now the villain? Well, guys, guess what? If that's the case, it wasn't a brotherhood. It was a friendship, it was a convenience, it was something other than a brotherhood, because a brotherhood doesn't fall apart like that. And that's unfortunate. But what I want to encourage you to do, and then what I am doing, and then I would just say this because it's part of my story here tonight, love them anyways. Hang in there. Pray for them. You're going to see people make choices that you're going to be in dire disbelief of. You're going to be in situations where you're going to see people making choices like, well, man, when the reality hits the screen here, I hope they call me because I'm going to love them. And not remind them of this mistake, but I'm going to love them, and I'm going to connect with them, I'm going to be there for them. Because a non-brother would be the person that rubs it in. I told you, big shocker, and make them feel even worse because now you're going to rub it in because of their mistake. I just strongly recommend you don't do that. Watch for people's pain. Watch for it. Recognize that, guess what? Some people are going to go down the road, but no matter what, learn to see God's heart in them. No matter what my friends are going through, I am always going to choose to see what God sees, and that's what He sees: the greatness, the kindness, the love. Even though on the outside, we may be seeing complete madness. We may be seeing horrible choices. These are some of the times where you're going to love the human being, but you're going to put yourself in a situation where you create boundaries, but you hold on to hope that they'll come back inside the fence, right? I heard it said years ago, we don't create fences to keep things out. We create fences to keep good things in, right? I build a fence so my kid doesn't run out into the street, right? I build a fence to keep my dog inside, doesn't go outside. The fences, yes, they can keep things out, but in my perspective, fences are to keep good in, not just bad out. And instead of focusing on all the bad I'm trying to keep out, these are the people that live with all these concerns about all these horrible things going on in the world, and you can call them conspiracy theories if you want, but there's just a lot of things going on that we could easily say, oh my God, the world's coming to the end. And as much as I understand that attraction to maybe be the first one to know about something horrible, I don't think it's healthy. And I would just as soon keep that information on the outside of my fence and keep the good things on the inside of my fence, because what I can control is my heart, my reaction, my response, how I treat every day, how I greet people in my life, how I choose to heal, how I choose to serve. And please don't get me wrong on this. I'm not trying to portray in any way that I've got this all figured out, that super Brad, not even remotely chance. But at the number of years that I'm at and the number of friendships I've been through, I realize that we're going to have to sometimes build a fence that people have to stay outside until they can behave in a way that they come safely back into the fence. And that's part of brotherhood. It's painful. I just hope that those reasons aren't economics or things of that nature. We need each other, man. We need to be strong for each other. We need to be proactive. I recently lost a friend of mine, and this would be the fourth brother that I've lost in the last season or two. And it's extremely painful. And to have someone take their life is probably the most confusing thing you'll ever experience. My father told me when he was a little boy, he found his grandfather who had taken his life in the bathroom, and he found him, and it affected him forever. And I've now had a couple friends take their life, and one most recently, and it drove home to me the importance of brotherhood, the importance of recognizing that there is mental health, that there are things going on that we don't know, and if we don't take the time to slow down and dig in, we might miss it. And I grieve greatly over this loss because I feel like I didn't dig in deep enough. And I know I'm not supposed to punish myself, and honestly, I'm getting some help with the grief side of this. But I do know that I'm supposed to learn from every experience, just as you all are. And whatever you've experienced, I hope you take the time to ask yourself, what am I supposed to learn from this experience? And as I share with you tonight, the topic of brotherhood, I can tell you that being a proactive brother is crucial. Not only just saying, hey, how's it going, but actually listening and pausing for the answer. I did a podcast a couple of days ago with a good friend of mine, Keith Sconyers, and you'll hear that podcast coming up here pretty soon. But one thing I really respect about Keith is he slows down and he says, so how are you? And he pauses, and I realize he's not just asking me like, yeah, I'm awesome, bro, what's up? It's not like, what have you been up to? It's me like, how's your soul, right? How's your heart? How's your brain, right? How are you inside? Now, what we'll find with most people is they're not doing so good. They're hurting, they're lonely, they're frustrated, they're angry, they're desperate, they're full of shame, they're full of fear. And a brotherhood is supposed to fix this. But in today's world, we seem to be in a broken place where we don't even have brothers anymore. I don't know, I can't blame that on COVID, but maybe COVID had something to do with it. We just completely disconnected. Maybe it's this emasculation of men that we just don't get with men and be tough because we're supposed to be emasculated and more softer and sensitive, so we don't get together. I mean, I don't know, bro, guys, have you ever hugged someone and like, whoa, that was weird? Like they are extremely uncomfortable giving you a hug as a brother. There are some people that just can't. Like you got the guys that'll give you the big hug, then you got the bro shake with the big slap on the back, right? It makes you cringe because you get a whacker at it. He used to always hit me right in that little baby fat in the lower part of my back. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to give you a hug anymore. We don't even know how to hug. We don't even know how to say I love you, man. Right? I have a really awesome young man that works for me. His name's Dennis, and every time he sees me, every time he says goodbye, every time he sees me, every time he gives me a hug. Every time he says goodbye, he goes, I love you. And it's just so awesome. I feel it, I sense it, and he's a third my age. But how great is it that he's comfortable enough to give a hug to a grown man, comfortable enough to say I love you. I think we can learn a lot from these people because I think we've forgotten to hug each other. We've forgotten to love each other. We've forgotten to be engaged with each other. It's like, he doesn't want to let anybody in, so don't go there, right? And yet reality, if you've earned the right, they want you to go there. If you've spent the time digging in, right? If they understand the unspoken language of your history together, they want you to ask that question. And I know it's awkward when someone comes up to me and they go, bro, how you doing? Right? I've got a good friend of mine, his name's Ryan, and he always says, how's Brad today? Right? And I'm a positive guy, right? I'm always like, yeah, I'm great. And the other day, when he asked me, I'm like, you know what? I gotta slow down here. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I'm struggling. And he's like, what? What? You know, it was the day I lost my friend. Recently lost our second dog. One of my friend's parents just passed away. Another friend of mine has this terminal concussion disease, and it just, stacks of things that were adding up. And it was like, you know what? Not having the best of days. And he leaned in with me. And he called me, and we had a conversation, and we prayed, and we talked. You know what? If I'd have been too proud to say, you know what, bro? I could just say I'm doing great, but I'm not doing that great. And there's other people I call, like my pastor Blake, and I just say, hey man, can we just talk? Right? Can we just I gotta walk through a few things. I don't know what to do here. I would say the most common thing I've asked God for in the last 15 years of my life, and that is for deep brotherhood, deep friendship. I was at a large Coliseum a number of years ago, and I was one of the speakers, and it was a great event. And then I had a chance to introduce this one couple, and their last name was the Motts. And I introduced them, and they had a chance to speak, and they said, I just want you to know, Brad, you are our friend. And maybe that sounds silly, but honestly, it rocked me. Because I don't know if there's a greater title than being someone's friend, and that's what a brotherhood is. So I think to make a brotherhood work, guys, you have to come to a place where you realize you got to be in a place to receive that kind of thing. I got a good buddy of mine, really one of my real good buddies, and he used to say, there's just not a whole lot going on inside here. And I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to start blowing on that baby, because I know inside there's this massive amount of goodness, but it's just been locked away because he's seen a lot, been through a lot, gone through a lot of things, and survival oftentimes requires us to harden it up, block it up. But I know that if you get around a fire long enough, and even though you may have been freezing to death and dealing with hypothermia, if you get around heat long enough, you're going to warm up. So some of us need to be warmed up. Some of us need to get around a fire and feel the burn and be open to having a brother. I had a guy say not long ago, well, Brad, I'm a little concerned about getting close with someone because it ends up just hurting. They leave, I leave, we move, it breaks down. I'm like, you come to a place where not every brotherhood's for life. I told you 4 stories already that are painful ones for me, but I'm still craving a brotherhood. Maybe it's because I'm needy, huh? Maybe that's it. I don't think so. I think it's because I know the value of it. I know the value of 2 dudes sitting around a fire telling a story. I know the value of going to a men's event like I did with Greg Francis, and we were down in San Diego and riding all of our burdens on this burden board, and then this 10-foot tall fire, and I'm kind of bawling my face off. I'm like, give him a hug, and he gives me a hug, and I throw this thing in the fire to burn up those burdens, and that's a moment I'll remember for the rest of my life. And if I hadn't told him my burdens, if I hadn't shared them with him, I hadn't been willing to get vulnerable, then I don't know, maybe I'd be still carrying those burdens. We need people like that. We need to take that risk. Sometimes brotherhood's not going to work out, but you still need to take the risk because it's worth it. It's something everybody needs to build on. And if you don't think I'm right, well, that's okay. You got time. But sometimes you need to be seeking a brother, and sometimes you need to recognize that people around you are seeking a brother. And maybe it's safer for you to start off being that brother for someone before you can ask for a brother to be someone like that. I don't know. You choose. But I want to start off season 2 reminding you, as man maker, making men is a brotherhood. Coming together, a bond of burdens, a bond of vision, a bond of shared pain, a bond of a desire to make the world a better place. That's who we are. That's what we are. That's what you are. That's why you're here. Hopefully that's why you do what you do. I spent 2 decades of my life in direct marketing. And I can tell you that the greatest benefit I got out of it was the brotherhood. Didn't work out so well at the end with a lot of the friendships, but I can tell you the greatest moments I had were shared with men that I worked and worked and worked and worked with. And those memories are mine forever. I don't discard those memories because we're no longer best friends. I'm not going to say those events didn't happen. They're still my brothers. We may not have a brotherhood, but they're still my boys, and I still believe and I still love them. So take the chance, guys. Go deep. Be willing to let people into your heart and see what happens. See the impact it has on your parenting. See the impact it has on your marriage. See the impact it has on your desire to be a greater man. One of the great things I look for is to get around men that inspire me to be a better man. I love getting around people that are lid lifters, people that are elevators, right? People that will raise the level of expectation, your LOE. So I challenge you. Be a brother. Go get a brother. And build something that at the end of the day, you're part of their Palm 5. You'll be one of the 5 guys that will carry their casket. Because one day, we're all going home. And all we'll have left is treasured memories of the impact we've had with people we've gone deep enough with. All right? God bless you. Man Maker, out.